As a result of the coronavirus pandemic, the exam boards, and specifically AQA in this example here, have taken it to be able to release a number of pieces of advanced information for your exams. Now, ultimately, what the advanced information documents are supposed to do is to give you the kind of things that are going to be covered in the exam, and as a way to help students revise. Now, what I'm going to do in this quick video is explain the advanced information for the A-level history module on the British Empire for AQA, which is 1J, the British Empire. And what we're going to do for the next few months is utilize these advanced information documents, and we're going to make specific detailed video lessons on all of the topics that are covered on all of the advanced information modules for the history and the politics modules that we teach. So we will be going through and doing videos and video lessons in more detail on the specific things that are covered in this advanced information document leading up to your exams in summer. So for the British Empire, it seems that for the most part, you're going to be focusing on the second half of the A-level history module. You could be talking about part 2 ultimately from 1914 to 1967. But that is not to say that there's going to be nothing covered in relation to the first part of the section. So section 1 on the development of imperialism, so the development of imperialism in Africa and into the 1890s. There are two things that you've got to know for this that are on the specification, specifically imperial and colonial policy. This includes the administration of India and the defence of India, including things like the Indian Mutiny. And then also talking about things like the scramble for Africa and the international relations surrounding the expansion of the British Empire in Africa. Secondly, the second thing you have to know is relations with indigenous people, specifically the Indian Mutiny, the impact of the Indian Mutiny, and also things relating to conflicts such as relations with the Boers and the Bantu peoples in South Africa. So that's the first thing that you're going to have to know for the exam. When it comes to section 2, the Imperial Consolidation and Liberal Rule, you only need to know about the trade and commerce from that section. This is not to say that you shouldn't be revising all of the topics on this module for A-level history, but only that you're going to be tested and that the exam is going to draw from information from these topics specifically. So talk about, we've got trade and commerce here as well. And then for the most part, you're going to be focusing, and your revision should be focusing on the second half of the A-level history for the British Empire, that being the Imperial retreat section from 1914 to 1967. So when it comes to section 3 on Imperialism challenge, you need to know about the expansion and contraction of the British Empire through the First and into the Second World Wars, and talking about the relationship with India and the Middle East during this period. You also need to know about relationship as it relates to colonial policy in India, Africa and the Middle East, and things relating to administration of those regions, as well as trade and commerce and the impact that the First and Second World Wars had on trade and commerce within the British Empire, and then finally relations with indigenous peoples. So quite a lot of information you're going to be studying for this period of history. And then finally, the winds of change period from 1947 to 1967. You need to know about, again, colonial policy and administration, so things like the impact of the Suez Crisis and international relations surrounding the slow contraction and ultimate collapse of the British Empire. You then need to know about trade and commerce. Again, this is being post-war reconstruction period, so the trade and commerce that existed within the empire following the end of the Second World War, and then finally post-colonial political, economic and cultural ties. So what happened after the empire had ultimately collapsed, the residual impact of the empire and the empire through popular culture. So these are the things you're going to have to study, and these are the things that we're going to be doing lessons on specifically for this module.